Good afternoon, good Friday, happy Red Friday. This is Eric with Low VA Rates. Wearing a brand new red shirt, kind of a throwback, right? It looks kind of like a retro type shirt. If you like it, let us know, give us some thumbs up. We always wear red on Friday. Why? Because Friday we support every day we support the military, but on Friday we wear red shirts, red clothing. It's an outward expression of an inward feeling that we have, or an inner feeling that we have, and that is we love the veterans, and RED stands for Remembering Everyone Deployed. Okay, so if you do have loved ones deployed, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. They're certainly in ours. Let's get on now to the topic that we want to educate our followers and viewers on today, and that is, what is a good debt-to-income ratio? Now, in the mortgage world, when we talk about debt to income, we're happy to have our whiteboard back because I like to draw. Debt to income is referred to as DTI, okay? DT, I'll do an I like that. Debt to income. We're going to talk about that today. This question, what is a good debt to income ratio? Let's just try to give you a straight up answer right now, and then we'll dive into a little bit more detail. If you're below a 36%, so I would say 35, 36, 34, somewhere in the low to mid 30s or anything below that, you're pretty strong in the debt to income category. Now, maybe you're asking yourself, what is DTI? Well, DTI is a ratio or a calculation that we make in the mortgage world that takes all of your monthly debt payments. So that would be your Amex, your Navy Federal card, your Visa, your auto payments, maybe you're still paying back some school loans. Anything that is on your credit report reported as a debt or an obligation, that all gets added up. So let's just say it equals, like it says down here, $2,000 every single month. That's your debt. If you pay rent, your rent would go in there. Now, rent would not be on your credit report. It is going to go into your debt to income ratio. If you have a mortgage, your mortgage payment's going to go into your debt to income ratio. Here are the sorts of expenses or monthly debts that don't go in. Cell phone bill, past due account debt. Does anyone even go to Blockbuster anymore? I think Blockbuster exists. But if you have debts that you're paying other people that are not reported on a credit report, utility bill, that does not go on there. Anything that's basically on a credit report, with the addition of rent payments, because rent is not on your credit report, those are your debts. Now, gross monthly income. That is what you make every single month before taxes, before Social Security, before your withholdings. There's a gross amount. So let's just say you got a killer job and you're making $72,000 a year or $6,000 a month. You take your debts, you divide them by your income, and you come up with a debt to income ratio. All right? That's how that works. The lower the number, the stronger you happen to be in the eyes of an underwriter or someone that's going to determine whether or not you're eligible for a loan. So, what is the max debt to income ratio for VA loans? VA loans, check this out, are a little bit higher than these, kind of ideal situations. We've mentioned many times in the past that veterans, because of their military service, because of their personalities, I'm telling you, most veterans, very responsible, hardworking, they don't give up. Well, because of all of those reasons, and most importantly because they've sacrificed the ultimate, and that is they put their life on the line, banks, because of the backing of the U.S. federal government, allow the debt to income ratio for veterans to be higher than maybe a conventional loan. And when I say that's the max, there's always a catch in the VA world, and that's why you got to watch these videos every week, because we get deeper than just kind of the surface. If you're in this area, you're probably pretty good. Obviously, the lower you are, like we talked about, even better. Most importantly, however, with VA loans, I've done loans for people that have been over a 60% debt to income ratio. We still got them approved. And here's how that works on a VA loan. You have to meet the higher residual income requirements. Team that's here filming me today, maybe next week we talk about residual income and what those requirements are, because I don't want to go into too much detail today. But basically, these are called compensating factors in the mortgage world. VA sets a rule. You better be at a 41% debt to income ratio or lower. However, if you go higher than that, and you have certain compensating factors like super high FICO score, a super high residual income, some liquid assets in the bank, then there's a way to stretch that and go even higher. Like I said, I personally have done loans for people in the 60% range. So that's kind of it for today. I'm going to talk, hopefully it's not too much rambling, for the next minute or two, while we hope that anyone that's watching might interact or have some questions. We already have a question?
Casey asks, what about past taxes?
Past taxes. Casey, you're very intelligent, whoever you are. Past taxes likely are going to affect your debt to income ratio if there's something that the underwriter finds out about. So if on your title report there are past due taxes, that's likely going to be questioned by the underwriter. The underwriter is going to say, look, past due taxes are a debt or an obligation. You're going to have to pay those. Whether or not it goes into your debt to income ratio, to be completely honest with you guys today, I'm not 100% certain. But as always, we'll go get with one of our VA underwriters. We'll get an exact answer on that, and we'll post back into this video once it's on our Facebook page the very accurate answer for that. So, good question. Sometimes I do get stumped. Any other questions? While we're waiting for other questions, let me just remind you or bring you back up to date on some of the stuff that we're doing here at Low VA Rates. If any of you guys took your kids out trick-or-treating, or your grandkids, or your nieces and your nephews, you probably have a house full of candy, and your kids' teeth are rotting right now. Now, I'm not going to name my child because my wife might get upset with me, but one of my kids had a tooth fall out last night. I'm blaming it on all the Halloween candy that she's been eating for the last week. But what we're doing here at Low VA Rates, as are many of our friendly competitors across the country, collecting all this candy. I'm going to look over here at Lance for a second. I try not to get off the camera too much, but it's Operation what? Or what's it called? Do we know?
Operation Gratitude.
Operation Gratitude. And so there's a situation where you can bring all of this unwanted candy. It gets shipped overseas, all over the world, to the men and women in the military, and then that's given out to the citizens of the countries that they're in, or people in the area. And if you've ever seen or heard of the candy bomber, there's a gentleman who used to be in the Air Force, I think, years ago, and he would fly around during World War II, I believe, and throw pieces of gum, and eventually he threw candy out of his plane, and it's a very moving story. Well, we've talked to some of the employees here at our office who have served overseas and have been in areas of conflict and war. Tim Lewis, who we've introduced you to before, he said nothing lights up the children's faces over in the Middle East and other places where we are, innocent children, than when the service members are giving them candy. So if you want to check out our Facebook page, there's information about this Operation Gratitude. You can either mail it to us. If you're local, you can bring it to us. And I can promise you, if you go to Operation Gratitude's page, there's probably drop zones, for lack of a better term, all over the country. So we do that. We support the troops here, not just through great loans and great service, but through getting involved in charities and stuff like that. Any other questions? If there's no other questions about debt to income ratio, wear red. It's not too late to go change your clothes. Finish out the day wearing red. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week at this same time.